Nah.
Ah, dire.
Yeah, she loud.
Why
She
must you do that to me?
I sorry. Usually give usually give a warning, but I guess I didn't feel like it this time. I don't know.
Fair.
Rude, but fair.
That's the way it be sometimes. Okay. I'm gonna Google one thing real quick because it is. I meant to do this before we got on, but I got distracted with food.
Sounds about right. What'd you eat?
Pizzazz rolls.
Oh, okay. A
Are
little
those just
jealous.
like sparkly pizza rolls?
Basically, I love pizza.
As all good people should.
Okay. And so I was looking up. Do y'all watch American Horror Story, or have y'all ever watched it?
I watched the first two question mark.
Eh, bits and pieces, not really horror fan.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of horror. I watched until I think I did watch this last season, but only a couple episodes. But I can't find where it's confirmed. I saw online somewhere that the new season of American Horror Story is going to be Backrooms.
Hmm.
No, thank you. Been there once,
Yeah.
don't need to go back.
Yeah. And I was just like, huh, I thought it was interesting. I would maybe watch that one. I'm, like I said, I'm also not big into scary things. I don't like jump scares or anything like that. So I'm more like a psychological thriller type of gal, not scary, spooky jump scares. But anywho, if they do that, that would be kind of cool though. And if you haven't, go listen to our last episode. Maybe she's born with it. Maybe she's delusional. Oh, mentally ill. That's what it
Mentally
was.
ill.
Maybe she's delusional too. I don't
Little
know.
column A, little column
A
B.
But
bit of both.
yes, because it's about the back rooms. Anyway, all right. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining us on today's episode of Can You Repeat That podcast? We're your hosts. My name is Leslie.
My name's Chantelle.
And I am Atlas.
All right. Today is a shanty story.
It is.
Shanty story.
Huzzah.
All right. So, since I am kind of the odd one out of this trio in terms of location, I feel like I already put my work in a little early on this podcast because I think I can say that I have successfully tainted some opinions regarding Canadian history and the people, sadly, from here, from the Carla Homolka story and the Paul Bernardo story to the Robert Picton story.
Actually, it makes all the stereotypes about Canadians make sense because all that anger and impoliteness has to go somewhere.
I guess so.
For the
It goes
longest
to
time,
the
I thought it went into
1%.
your geese, but
Oh,
but now I know it just goes into psychopathic butchering murderers.
Maybe I should do a story on the geese. Which if you haven't listened to those episodes, the Carla and Paul story is episode 18, and the Robert Picton story is episode 12. 10 out of 10 would recommend, but buckle in tight for
mhm.
those ones. But that being said, I think it's time I put some love back and shine a little light on a small fraction of the positive things and people who came from Canada. And today we're gonna focus on one of those. So
Oh.
today we're gonna put a spotlight on Terrance Stanley Fox, more commonly known as Terry Fox. Have either of you heard of him or his story?
I don't think so.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a little disappointed, Leslie.
Okay, I've
No, I'm
said
kidding.
this
He was
once.
a
I've
athlete, but also a humanitarian and a cancer research activist.
This is true.
And he became that. Well, I won't ruin the story.
yeah.
But yeah,
No,
I've absolutely heard of him.
I don't know if I have or not, but I've said it in previous episodes. I'll just repeat it again. I'm so bad with names.
I
So,
bet I bet you'll know a little bit.
okay. All right.
Maybe a little bit.
Don't get your hopes up. I
Maybe a
usually
little
listen to the
bit.
bad things, not the nice
True.
things. So,
True. That's fair. So for this story, I have quite a few pictures I'll be sending to you both. And for everyone listening, they'll be posted on our socials linked in our link tree. So Terry was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada on July 28th, 1958. He was the second of four children born to Betty and Rolly Fox. His father, Rolly, was a switchman with the Canadian National Railway and met Betty in Winnipeg, where they had all four children. In 1966, the Fox family took to escape the cold Winnipeg weathers and moved to Vancouver, British Columbia. From early on, Terry was known as quite the determined kid, especially when it came to sports. In his biography titled Terry Fox, His Story, it was described how he would arrive at the corner an hour early for his ride to baseball practice because he was so committed. By the time he was in junior high school, basketball quickly became his favorite sport. This despite the fact he was 5 foot tall in grade 8 and not exactly a natural. He continued to be determined to make the school team. The coach, Bob McGill, suggested that Terry try cross country running and wrestling instead. While he did take up running, he never gave up his dream of being on the basketball team. He practiced every morning before school and all throughout the summers. In grade 8, while he did make the team, Terry was last on his team's lineup and played 1 whole minute all season. By grade 10, Terry and his best friend, Doug oh my God, Doug Alward, were starting guards on the Mary Hill Junior High School team. Both shared the Athlete of the Year award. 1 year later, he was once again chosen as starting guard for another team. He continued running cross country, playing soccer and rugby, and once took home Athlete of the Year in grade 12, still alongside his best friend Doug. He shortly became a better basketball player than Doug, while Doug excelled in cross country racing. He became so good, he was recognized at Simon Fraser University, where he made the school's junior varsity basketball team.
I love his hair.
Right? People pay good money for curls like that.
They sure
Right.
do.
In 1976, Terry noticed a pain in his leg. In November of the same year, while on the highway, he rear-ended a truck. The car was wrecked. Terry escaped without visible injury, just a sore right knee. He assumed it was from the crash, but the pain returned. He began to believe it was a cartilage problem due to the stress of playing so much basketball. The following year, 1977 in February, following the end of the season, he went to the school's health center where he was given painkillers. Early March, he returned to training. During one run, he was in so much pain and so sore that he couldn't move. The following day, he went to his family doctor, and his family doctor suspected there was something serious going on. His dad drove him to Royal Columbian Hospital in New Westminster, where they were seen by an orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Michael Piper. From x-rays, he suspected that Fox had osteogenic sarcoma, a type of bone cancer that often starts in the knee. Following a bone scan, the suspicion was confirmed on March 4th. Because this cancer spread so quickly, doctors felt his best chance of survival was amputation of the right leg, followed by chemotherapy. Over the next few days, he was surrounded by all of his friends and family. His classmates brought his homework to the hospital. His teammates stopped to visit, including his high school coach. The night before his surgery, the same coach gave Terry a Runner's World article about an amputee who ran the New York City Marathon. The next morning of his surgery, he showed his nurse, Judith Ray, the article and said, "Someday I'm going to do something like that." March 19th, 1977, at the age of 18, Terry had his right leg amputated 15 centimeters above the knee. His determination and commitment played a big part in his recovery. Within weeks of his surgery, he was walking with the help of an artificial leg, and within a month, he was golfing with his father. Despite this, it was still a long road ahead. He began a 16-month program of chemotherapy at the British Columbia Cancer Control Agency in Vancouver. Despite his suffering, he still felt fortunate compared to others in the clinic as he visited every 3 weeks for treatment. He felt compassion for them in the midst of losing his hair, constantly feeling nauseous, and responsibility as he was one of the survivors.
What a good kid.
What a great kid. Like,
Amazing. I don't think there's a word that could really explain how awesome he is. Like the mentality of after losing your leg, and instead of just being all like, well, my life's over, he's like, I'm gonna do that one day.
yeah,
I'm gonna
humble
keep
does not cut it for him.
not at all.
Nope.
It was now the summer of 1977. He received a phone call from Rick Hansen, who would ask if Terry would like to join the Vancouver Cable Cars, a wheelchair basketball team. Following suit to his dedication years prior, he practiced hard. His hands were blistered and bleeding as he learned a different way to play basketball. He was chosen for the team by the end of the summer and would compete in the National Wheelchair Basketball Championships. He continued playing for the Cable Cars from 1977 to 1980, winning national championships in both 78 and 79. In the 1979 to 1980 season, he was chosen for the All-Star team in the North American Wheelchair Basketball Association. He was playing 3 nights a week at this point, using a wheelchair gifted by his father's coworkers at the National Railway. He would train in his wheelchair alongside roads and pathways, but wasn't content with the level surfaces. He climbed both Westwood and Burnaby Mountain in his wheelchair.
Dang. That's so impressive.
It's wild.
That is crazy dedication.
And what year was that?
That was in 1980.
Man. I mean, I don't know about then. I'm not a wheelchair expert, but I know now there's like different types of wheelchairs for different types of things. So I'm just imagining the wheelchair. Well, I don't have to imagine because there's a photo right there. The type of wheelchairs that they were in,
Mm-hmm.
and that he went up a mountain
Yep.
or two. That's just wow.
Yeah,
I don't
literally
know.
had to turn the wheels. Crazy.
Yeah, and then also I feel like playing it's just a whole nother skill to play basketball in general, but then basketball in a chair, you don't have to think to turn left, whenever you're walking, but having to dribble a ball, well, I don't know, actually, wheelchair sports, but
I can't multitask now.
yeah, I can't. I think
Oh.
that's the point I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, yeah, it's a different kind of skill. Terry Fox had another goal. While having chemotherapy, he witnessed many people suffering with cancer and was determined to do something to help. He decided, following inspiration from the article he read the night of his surgery, he would run across Canada and raise awareness and funds for cancer research.
Across Canada?
Across Canada.
That's a big place.
Yeah, it is. He started training by running at night around the cinder track at the local high school, and in mid-February 1979, he could run half a mile around the track. By the end of the month, he could run a mile. His prosthesis was modified so it could withstand the impact of running better, but it was still uncomfortable and awkward. Characteristically, he persisted. By mid-August, he was preparing for a race in Prince George, British Columbia. He prepared to run the 8.5-mile race with his best friend and brother by his side, but instead, he ran the 17-mile or 27-kilometer version. He finished last, but only 10 minutes behind.
That is better than I can do with two fully functioning
That's
working legs.
same. Same.
And, it doesn't matter if he finished last or first.
But
He finished.
Yeah. This race convinced him that he had to start his run across Canada the following spring. Up until this point, only 2 of his friends knew of his plans. With the date set, it was time to tell his parents. His mother thought he was crazy, and his father just asked when he planned to start.
Mike and Dad a lot more.
Yeah. He would call this run across Canada the Marathon of Hope with a goal of raising $1 for every person in Canada. By the time it began in April 1980, he had logged 5,000 kilometers of training runs. He enlisted in the support of the Canadian Cancer Society and the War Amputations of Canada, as well as some other big names such as Ford Motor Company and Adidas. Terry wrote a letter to the Canadian Cancer Society for the Marathon of Hope. It said, "The night before my amputation, my former basketball coach brought me a magazine with the article of an amputee who ran in the New York Marathon. It was then I decided to meet this new challenge head on and not only overcome my disability, but conquer it in such a way that I could never look back and say it disabled me. But as soon as I realized that that would only be half my quest, for as I went through the 16 months of the physical and emotionally draining ordeal of chemotherapy, I was rudely awakened by the feelings that surrounded and coursed through the cancer clinic. There were faces with brave smiles and the ones who had given up smiling. There were feelings of hopeful denial and the feelings of despair. My quest would not be a selfish one. I could not leave knowing these faces and feelings would still exist, even though I would be set free from mine. Somewhere the hurting must stop, and I was determined to take myself to the limit for this cause. By next April, I will be ready to achieve something that was for me was only nope. By next April, I will be ready to achieve something that for me was only a distant dream reserved by the world of miracles to run across Canada to raise money for the fight against cancer. The running I can do, even if I have to crawl every last mile. We need your help. The people in cancer clinics all around the world need people who believe in miracles. I am not a dreamer, and I'm not saying this will initiate any kind of definitive answer to or cure to cancer, but I believe in miracles. I have to."
What
What
an
a champ.
amazing person. Wow.
It's only just begun. I know.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the first like positive oh my goshes I have ever said on this podcast.
Won't be the last, but I'll take the first for sure.
Okay, bet.
Terry Fox began his cross-country run on April 12th, 1980. He started the run by dipping his artificial leg in the Atlantic Ocean near St. John's, Newfoundland, and his incredible journey began.
Okay. I'm gonna go to hell. But I'm just imagining him sitting like on a dock and he just takes his leg off and just like dips it in the water and puts it back on.
Well,
I
he
mean,
didn't.
I would do that if I was in his position, to be perfectly honest.
You'll see a photo of his statue of that later.
Okay, cool. I'm imagining it's not him just like sitting on the ground and like
No, no, but
okay.
I mean the visual, sure. He would run roughly 14 kilometers a day through the Atlantic provinces, Quebec, and Ontario. His best friend Doug drove alongside him along the route in a van, and his brother joined him in New Brunswick.
So, question.
Yes.
In the photo that you sent, there's a cop car
Mhm.
behind him. Is that just it just happened to be in the photo, or did he have like some type of escort or something?
We will get
Side.
there.
Okay, bet. All right.
Coming up shortly. Yeah.
Gotcha. Aw,
Um,
I love the
yeah.
van.
So I believe on the right of that photo is his brother, and on the left is his best friend, Doug.
Gotcha. I think I agree because the hair.
Yeah. Media coverage of his journey was slow at first. Communities in Newfoundland came out to support, but he was disappointed by the early reception in Nova Scotia. He said in his diary that the Prince Edward Island was more hospitable, but he was disappointed when nothing had been arranged for them in St. John's, New Brunswick. But they decided to run through the city anyway. Later, he was met with more challenges in Quebec as the Marathon of Hope had not been publicized in the province, and he raised almost no money there. That changed when the Toronto Star wrote a weekly column on his progress, and businessmen changed to show support. By the time he reached Ontario, he was a national star.
That's a fun photo. It looks like something out of a movie.
Yeah. Appearances had to be organized by the Canadian Cancer Society, where thousands would attend. He met with Prime Minister at the time, Pierre Trudeau, British actress Maggie Smith, and NHL staples Bobby Orr and Daryl Sittler, where he was presented with a 1980 NHL All-Star sweater. Despite the crowds growing every day, he was safer running in Ontario. On several occasions prior, he had come close to being hit with cars or trucks, but in Ontario, he was accompanied by police.
Oh, okay. All right.
Ontario for the win.
Ontario for the win. I know nothing about Canada, so
All you need to know is
Ontario produces
Yeah.
the best Canadians.
that's right.
I'm partial to that fact.
However, Terry was forced to stop running just outside of Thunder Bay, Ontario on September 1st, 1980, as the cancer started to invade his lungs.
I thought it would be gone. Okay.
He had ran 143 days, covered 5,372 kilometers, the equivalent of more than 128 marathons.
Wow.
He vowed he would complete his cross Canada run, but he was never able to return. His efforts didn't go unnoticed around the country. On September 7th, 1980, CTV aired a telethon that raised 6.5 million in 5 hours.
Wow.
This brought the total of Marathon of Hope to 10 million.
Holy cow.
Not even 2 weeks later, Terry was the youngest person ever to be made a Companion of the Order of Canada, which is Canada's highest civilian honor. He was presented with the Order of Dogwood, which is the highest British Columbia honor. And in December, he was named Newsmaker of the Year by the Canadian Press and won the Lou Marsh Trophy as Canada's Athlete of the Year. I'm going to send you both a short video of him receiving the Order of Canada, and I'll link it in the show description if anyone would like to watch. It's just like a couple of minutes.
I love that the people from his hometown just couldn't stay away from it.
Yeah, they had to go see.
Aw. It's so sweet, but then the ending makes me so sad of that.
Yeah.
In 1980, how old was he? Do you know? What was his birthday?
He would have been, I want to say 22 because he was born in 1950. Yeah, 22 because he was born in 58.
On February 1st, 1981, he achieved his goal. He had raised $1 for every person in Canada as the donations topped $24.17 million. In early June, the Simon Fraser University created the Terry Fox Gold Medal. It is awarded annually to a SFU student who has demonstrated courage in the face of adversity and possesses qualities becoming a role model. Months and months of treatment had passed, and Terry contracted pneumonia in June 1981 and went into a coma June 27th.
You have no idea the self-control it's taking to not Google the outcome of this.
It's coming. Sit tight.
Okay.
He died at Royal Columbian Hospital in New Westminster at 4:35 a.m. on July 28, just 1 month before his 23rd birthday, and flags across the country were flown at half-mast. Following his death, he continued to receive more honors. So sit tight and hang in there with me because they are worth mentioning. In 1981, the federal government established a $5 million endowment in Terry's name to provide school scholarships for young Canadians. Canada's Sports Hall of Fame posthumously inducted him into the honorary member category. The Canadian Press named him Newsmaker of the Year for a second year in a row. And in 1982, Canada Post issued a stamp in his honor, forgoing its rule to wait at least 10 years after a person's death before honoring them. In July 1982, a monument featuring a bronze statue of Terry Fox was unveiled where he ended his marathon of hope outside Thunder Bay.
Dang. Them some strong, that's a strong leg right there.
It do be.
Anyway, sorry to
No,
take us
you're
out
good.
of the moment we were just feeling.
Schools, buildings, roads, and parks across the country have been named in his honor. We also have Terry Fox Day in British Columbia, Manitoba, and Ontario annually, which usually falls on the second Sunday of September.
Oh, so that was just recently,
Yeah.
Yeah, just
a couple of weeks ago,
Mhm.
if that.
In 1999, on Canada Day, Terry was named Canada's greatest hero in a national survey. And in April 2005, the Royal Canadian Mint issued a commemorative $1 coin to mark the 25th anniversary of the start of the Marathon of Hope. In the 2010 Olympic Winter Games in Vancouver, Terry's mom served as one of the 8 flag bearers who carried the Olympic flag during the opening ceremony. And in that photo, she is front left.
Front left.
In 2012, Terry Fox was inducted into the Canadian Medical Hall of Fame in the Builder category for his efforts in raising money for cancer research. Another bronze statue commemorating the moment he dipped his artificial leg in the ocean of St. John's, Newfoundland, was unveiled.
Hmm.
In 2013, he was posthumously inducted into Canada's Walk of Fame in Toronto. And in 2015, the Canadian Museum of History launched an exhibit across about the Marathon of Hope called Running to the Heart of Canada, which traveled across the country until 2019.
Wow.
The Terry Fox Foundation, which is overseen by his family and organizes the annual Terry Fox Run, has raised over $900 million for cancer research.
Oh, wow.
And I'm gonna have the links in the description to his timeline, and I'll link it to you both. And then a link for the Terry Fox Foundation website. So if this story has inspired you in some way, you can learn more about the story, the events, and everything in between on the foundation website. If you have the means to donate or would like to purchase merch or see the impact the foundation has made to date, you can also you can do so there.
Man, I thought he was still
Sadly, no,
here.
but every year it's a really big thing in Canada. So at least that's a positive part of it.
Well, now I'm big sad.
Sorry.
I didn't know. I don't know if y'all were able to hear the I did.
Yes. I'm sorry, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
He's a great man.
He deserves all the attention.
I mean, at least Les, this one you're feeling bad for good reasons, rather than
Right?
oh my God, they murdered
See?
children.
Oh my God, he ate people, you know?
Look at me moving on up.
I guess. Wow. What a good person.
Yeah,
Life, cancer's not fair.
no, but
No,
if there's someone who's gonna make something good out of it, it was definitely him.
Absolutely.
I seriously thought you were going to say it would be a Canadian for a moment.
No.
I'm looking at the links you sent. There's really not word good enough to explain how awesome he was or is.
Yeah,
How about fantabulous?
Fantabulous
that's a
is a
good
good
one.
start, but I still like he needs his own special word.
I can't think of anything that would not also be insulting and degrading at the moment, so I'm not going to.
He's done a lot in his short life.
Hmm.
Which that just kind of says the most of it, doesn't it? You know, that time is never an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
It's
This is true.
that man did more in 22 years of life than a lot of people do in 70 or 75.
Yep.
Mm.
That prosthetic doesn't look the most comfy.
No, they've come a long way since, but oof.
Oh, as I'm looking at this website while we're recording, whenever you donate, it pops up at the bottom. So someone named Tetiana just donated $50 from Red Deer, Canada. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh,
I believe it also pops up when you purchase merch also.
okay, aside from the story and everything, that's a really good marketing thing.
I will say my whole family has shirts from the
Mhm.
Terry Fox Foundation.
I might have to order me a shirt.
Oh, hey, he was. I don't know if you said that in the story or not, but he was diagnosed before his run with ventricular hypertrophy.
I did not.
What is that exactly?
It's the condition I just had corrected. It's an enlarged
Oh,
heart and an enlarged heart wall.
oh wow.
It's 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 sometimes referred to as like sudden death syndrome for athletes because you can go
Mm.
years without knowing you have it, and then you
Mm.
just drop dead all of a sudden, usually in times of extreme physical exertion.
He said, I want to set an example that will never be forgotten. And he did exactly that.
Sure.
Now I'm just big sad.
I'm sorry.
I never heard of this story.
I'm kind of
Atlas,
surprised.
well, Atlas is a little closer to Canada
True.
than I am. So it
This
doesn't
is true.
surprise me that, he'd heard about it, really.
Well, I heard about it actually because of the foundation itself, because I had a very close family friend, more than one, and my grandfather also died of cancer. So
Mm.
unfortunately, I'm familiar with a lot of the institutions.
Gotcha. I see. I fortunately haven't really had to be in any such situations really where I had to get familiar with those things.
Gonna need you to knock on wood,
Yeah,
ma'am.
I'm knocking on wood. I've already done it.
Thank you.
I'm still a knocking, but I don't know. I've never. Maybe that's probably more likely the reason why I haven't. Um, but also I'm like the furthest from Canada that I could possibly
Yeah,
be. So that probably also has something to do with
for
it.
sure.
So I'm glad we're doing this episode.
There we go.
I'm really glad because his story is one that should be known.
I had to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. My next story is a little different, but
Ooh, okay.
it's not written yet.
Okay, okay, that's
But
okay.
I know what it is. So,
That's all that matters.
yep, that's tomorrow morning's project. So,
Okay, okay.
yep. Now I have to listen to this all over again and get sad. Hear my I'm curious as to what I sounded like on y'all's end with my gasp or whatever sound I made. I know it
I
was a
honestly
sound.
I should have just triggered my recording so I recorded it for you.
Yeah. It's okay. It's gonna live on through the podcast for the
This
rest
is
of forever.
true. Love that.
This is true.
We have a very distinct, prominent digital footprint at this point. So,
Yeah.
well, everyone go look at the Terry Fox Foundation's website because it's really, really nice. And
There's
consider
a
buying
lot
a
of
shirt
good
or
info on
donating.
there.
Oh yeah, his story is like completely written out. There's so many photos. I love whenever a story has tons of documentation. All right. Do we have anything else to add?
I do not.
Don't believe so.
Okay. Outro time?
Outro time.
Thank you all so much for listening to our podcast. As always, you can find any pictures pertaining to this story posted on our socials. All links to our social media accounts are on our link tree at linktr.ee/cyrtpod. That's a lot of talking out letters. Anyway, be sure to rate, review, and download our episodes wherever you listen, as rating and downloading helps us out a ton. If you have any topic suggestions or want to share a story of your own, please send us an email at cyrtpod@gmail.com. Until next time.
Beautiful.
Yay.